being here, and thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. So my name is Maggie Cook. I'm running for re-election for the Mentor Board of Education. I'm a mom, I'm an educator, and I'm a school board member. I'm a person who shows up every single day because I really believe that education is what moves us forward. I believe in mentor schools. I believe in the goals that we've created, and I know that with my professional and my leadership skills that I can make those goals a reality. I'm a mom first. I have 2 daughters. I have a sophomore at the University of Cincinnati, and I have a junior right at Mentor High School. And I know what it's like to be a parent. I know that mix of worry and pride that you're dealing with every day, and I bring that experience to the Board of Education. I'm entering my 25th year as a speech-language pathologist for Chardon Schools, and I just really keep the students at the forefront of all of my decisions, because I've seen what happens when we meet students where they are, when they go from being unsure to being unstoppable. I bring that same knowledge to the boardroom where our decisions really matter, where our decisions really need to be grounded on facts, grounded on training, and knowing really what works, not on politics and not on pressure, but with purpose. My focus is clear. I'm focused on academic achievement, career readiness, and school safety. With our academic achievement, Mentor Schools has 4.5 out of 5 stars from the state right now, which is excellent. We are second rated in the county, only behind Kirtland Schools. So we have an excellent rating, and we have an excellent fiscal responsibility as well. We are the second lowest tax rate for schools in the county, only behind Perry, and we know they have quite a funding source with the Perry nuclear plant. Since I've been elected, more students are taking classes with college credits, so that saves our students money and their families money. We took a hard look at areas that most needed to improve, and we adopted new curriculum, and we added staff training to help us improve our areas there. We built a house for students with autism to learn firsthand skills on in a realistic setting, and I advocated to protect our instructional time when we had a very large push to pull students out for religious instruction. When I'm re-elected, I'll keep going, making sure that we have a large variety of course offerings, expanding preschool programs, and making sure that our gifted students, our special education students, and all of our other students have classes that help them explore where they're going in the future. With career readiness, I really believe in preparing students for what comes next. I often work with students who say, Mrs. Cook, college just isn't for me. Around 60% of students are not students that go to college and graduate with a college degree. So we do need to, that would be a statewide average, but we do need to make sure that students understand that there are different options out there, really good paying options. Looking at trades, bringing pre-apprenticeship programs into our schools, looking at all of the different job possibilities, and that's looking at expanding our alumni network so people can have shadowing opportunities, internship opportunities, things like that are excellent things, and starting at young ages for career exploration. Let's see. My final one is school safety. School safety for me, it's not just policy. School safety for me is really personal. I've sat in a room with students during a live school shooting, and I remember the fear. I remember the silence. I remember the students looking at me, not knowing if we were going to be safe. And I truly didn't have those answers for them. And that moment really never leaves you. That's why I've served every year on our school's safety committee, and it's why I worked with the city of Mentor to make sure that we have a school resource officer in every building full time. It's why I also refer to a district-wide safety audit to make sure that we're making our decisions with purpose. We're not guessing on what our best safety policies are. And I also know that safety isn't just about doors and drills, it's about connection and prevention. We need professionals in our school who know how to support students before the crisis begins. We need clear and fair, consistent codes of conduct that don't just punish students, but teach students the right way to act in society. Because when our students feel safe emotionally and physically, that's when we know that they're ready to learn. I have a record of listening, and I have a record of leading, and I won't promise any easy answers. I know the work is hard. I know there's a lot of divisiveness out there, and politics can be difficult, but I promise to listen to all sides. I will base every decision on what is best for our kids legally, ethically, and educationally. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about politics. This isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about making sure that the voices that matter the most are heard. Today I'm asking for your trust and your partnership. I'm asking for you to stand with me to finish what we started, moving Mentor forward and voting for Maggie Cook for Mentor School Board. Thank you.
Hello. All right. I'm Dan Hardesty, and I'm running for school board. First of all, I want to start off by saying I have 3 teenage daughters. I know, I know that's a lot, but they're all attending Mentor High School. Okay, Jane's a senior. My twins are both sophomores, Claire and Mallory. But besides being that makes me care a lot about Mentor schools, right? Because I have those 3 daughters in there. But I've also been a professional in a corporate leadership position for over a decade. I've been in the corporate environment for over 20 years. So that, I believe, qualifies me to sit on the board. I've been in professional meetings, budgeted, led people, trained people, hired and fired, and I have a plethora of business experience. So a little bit of background on me. I'm not a Mentor resident for, my whole lifetime. I grew up in Portage County. I went to Field Public High School. I went to Kent State, where I majored in criminal justice. And then I went on to get my Juris Doctorate at Cleveland State University. I married my wife Jessica in 2004. Some might say she's the brains of this operation, for better or worse. And we moved to West Park, okay? It's a working class neighborhood on the west side of Cleveland, if you're not familiar. We bought our house and we chose to send our kids to Catholic school to begin with, right? We were very involved in our parish, our school, our church, our community. I was on the Fall Festival Committee. Jess had 2 Girl Scout troops and was a member of the PTA. But as time went on, we kind of realized that they didn't have the resources we wanted for the education for our girls, right? So we decided to look for a good public school system to move our kids to. And Mentor came up. Mentor had great IEP management, something that we were looking for, and a lot of honors classes and AP offerings, which we were looking for as well. We chose Mentor based upon the quality of the education, the city services, and the affordable living, and we couldn't be happier with our decision. We moved here in 2019 when Jane was going into 6th grade and my twins were going into 4th grade, right? Like I said, we couldn't be happier with our decision. My platform has 3 main focuses: fiscal responsibility, academics, and safety. I know that seems kind of basic, but those 3 things encompass a lot. So academics to me encompasses, class sizes. It encompasses supporting our teachers. It supports more individualized education K through 12, expanding our career tech opportunities, making sure that we build on the success of our college prep, honors classes, and AP offerings, and then quality IEP management. I want to make sure that our kids are ready for the next step after graduation, whether that be, trade school, community college, 4-year college, or straight into the workforce. The next tenet will be safety. Not safety just from outside threats, but safety from peer-to-peer bullying. Right? And I do support the plan to have safety resource officers in every classroom. And also, as a member of our ad hoc discipline committee, I am proud of the plan that Craig Heath put in place for the upcoming year to address discipline in our school, bullying. It's a 9-point plan. I won't give you all the points right now, but some highlights are social media training for parents, concentration on some of the habitual offenders with getting their families involved and counseling, stuff like that. It's a holistic approach to discipline rather than just trying to suspend your way out of trouble, which you're not going to be able to do. And then finally, fiscal responsibility. Mentor has had a tradition of great fiscal responsibility. Do you know that it only costs $96 a day to educate a kid in Mentor Public Schools? That might sound a lot to some of you, but have any of you paid for daycare? I mean, $96 a day to have a college educated, accredited teacher, subject matter expert with your kid all day, teaching them, is pretty amazing. And I just want to make sure that I continue that tradition on, and I will, if elected, I vow to be a good steward of your tax dollars. Finally, have any of you guys seen a school board meeting in the last few years? Anybody like YouTube, gone to one, anything like that? Well, if you haven't, or if you have, you've probably heard they're pretty unprofessional and just unacceptable. There's people talking over everybody, there's just a lot of personal agendas, political agendas, rather than getting down to keeping the main thing, which is running the school for our kids. If elected, you won't see any grandstanding for me, any personal agendas, political agendas. I'm going to keep the main thing. I'm going to bring my business experience from holding business meetings and carry that culture of civility and collaboration to the board. Like I said, I want to cut the drama. We moved here in 2019. We couldn't be happier with our decision. I believe public schools are the cornerstone of any community. So let's keep Mentor Public Schools a quality institution, something that attracts new families and takes care of the existing community that we have. And let's make school board meetings boring again.
So I'm Robert Haig. Can you hear me okay in the back? Great. So I'm Robert Haig. I'm running for school board. Anybody wants to try to talk me out of it, we'll have a period after this where you can try to do that. So my three things, I'll give you my three things. You gotta have three things, right? Focus. What are we trying to do? Focus. 2, curiosity. I am so curious. That's how you stay young. If you're not curious, you're stuck. And I can talk about curiosity all day long. And then experience. So today I'm going to talk about experience a little bit. I'm a lifelong Mentor resident. I went to Mentor High School. I went to Hopkins. I went to Memorial. Okay, fine. Lived here my whole life. Moved away overseas, kept my house on the lake, and we moved back. We did that. I was a teacher here. I have a couple of students in the room. I became a unit principal. I had the class of 96. You follow them through for 3 years and you really get to know them. Most of them are really great contributors to society. And there was a time when maybe I thought that might not be the case. Great to be a unit principal. Really great to get to know kids over a 3-year period and watch them grow. I have 2 daughters. They both attended Mentor schools. Fun to watch them grow. And we have a brand new grandson who is 4 weeks old, and it's amazing. Today I want to talk about one specific piece of experience. So I was principal of Bellflower Elementary School for 8 years, and I got promoted to be the director of elementary education. At that time we have 12 elementary schools. So that was in 2003, and I walked into the board office, and it's a shiny building. Kind of a sad building though, because there's no kids there. And I didn't like that. It's like working in a bank. And pretty soon I found out how serious it was. Because you might remember 2003. I walked into the financial emergency. I was sitting at the table when we find out that we're millions of dollars in debt. Because we were afraid to go on the ballot. And we were hugely in debt. And some bad things happened. And I got put in charge. My degree from Ohio State's in finance. I got put in charge of writing the layoff plan. I came up with a 4-tier system. 1, we have to keep these teachers to meet state mandates. 2, essential coursework beyond the state mandates that supports the state mandates. And then you can imagine what 3 and 4 were and the kind of people that we had to let go in tier 4. Things like arts and music, pay for play for sports, lots of really bad things. And I was the one that went around and talked to those 141 teachers. I was the angel of death. I was. And at the end of that, I riffed myself because my job was redundant. And the superintendent at the time was able to get me back to Bellflower because the person there was a retiree hire. So I did go back to Bellflower. And at the end of that year, my wife and I took a 2-year unpaid leave of absence and we went to Turkey. And we took our whole young family. And it changed our lives. It made me a better American. I think it made me a better person. And it fueled curiosity. I'm so curious. I'm curious about so many things. I'm curious about bullying. I don't think it's new, but I think it's different. I think the tools are more sophisticated. I'm so curious about how we can help kids and adults to be kinder to each other, how we can focus on the other side, how we can focus on the side of kindness. Don't ignore anything that is unkind and look for the reciprocal of that. That interaction's not kind. What does kindness look like in that interaction? I'm so curious about that. I'm so curious about AI. I want to embrace AI with curiosity, with hope, and with imagination. Because I don't think we can stop it, and I don't think we should. I think AI is Wikipedia times infinity. Do you remember when we used to complain about Wikipedia? Wikipedia was no good. If you ever looked at the Talk tab? The Talk tab of Wikipedia? That's where people that care deeply about whatever the subject is argue with each other to get it exactly right. It's a forum for factual information to make it as accurate as it can be. But Dave only gave me 3 minutes and I might have gone over. So happy to talk to anybody anytime about curiosity. Because if you don't have curiosity, you're stuck. So I'm Robert Haig, and I'm asking for your vote for school board. This is Brian Cook, and Brian Cook is not running for school board, but he's doing something else.
I'm Brian Cook, and I'm running for Mentor City Council because I think it is time for the taxpayer to expect more. For the past 22 years, my wife and I have called Mentor home. We're raising our family here, and we want Mentor to be not just a place where I raise my family, but where you can all raise your family and your children and your grandchildren can stay here and live and work. That's why I'm asking for your vote to bring a new perspective to Mentor City Council. Right now, our city has approximately $77 million in unencumbered funds. And I think you should expect more without raising taxes. I promise to invest in safety, provide services for homeowners, and support small business growth. First, let's invest in safety. Here in Mentor, we have outstanding police and fire departments, but we have open positions and growing demands. And if we want to keep our community safe, we need to attract and maintain people with competitive salaries. That means standing behind the people that stand up for us every single day. Second, let's build a city that works for everyone, for our young families and our seniors who want to stay in their homes. Mentor needs to make smart investments. I support programs that make home ownership easier, like vacuum truck leaf removal, affordable sidewalk repair programs, and reinstituting our drainage assistant programs so we can finally get the standing water out of our backyards. This is what it means to expect more. Third, let's support small business growth. For the past 8 years, I've served on the Planning Commission, where I've been the chairman for the last 5. I see firsthand how our zoning laws reshape our development, and it makes it hard for our small businesses to get off the ground and our revitalization programs to get off the ground as well. I know the code, I know the process, and I know where we can do better without sacrificing the charm and stability of our residential neighborhoods. We need to modernize our approach and encourage walkable districts while protecting our manufacturing zones, so Mentor can be a city where businesses, both big and small, can grow. That's what it means to expect more from our city leadership. I have the experience to make this happen. For the past 20 years, I've worked in the public sector, managing large-scale infrastructure projects, where I'm the construction manager for the Lake County Department of Utilities. I've attended 5 American Planning Conferences to learn directly from city planners from across the United States. Now I want to bring that experience, knowledge, and energy to Mentor City Council to help lead Mentor. So I'm not just asking for your vote, I'm asking for your expectation. Expect more. Thank you for your time. My name is Brian Cook, and I hope to earn your vote for Mentor City Council. Let's build a future you deserve. Expect more. Cook for Council. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to open it up for questions now. You can direct your question to a particular person or just a general question that they can choose to respond to. So just stand up and let's hear it.
Thank you all for being here. I have a question for all the school board candidates. You may have seen the article in the Plain Dealer today about how the state is clamping down on special levies for school districts. They're going to make things more difficult. What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it on the school board to deal with that problem?
Did you read the article yesterday?
Maybe it won't be a problem. I don't know.
I'll start. I haven't read the Plain Dealer article, but I'm somewhat familiar. That was part of the budget from the current budget that was passed by our legislature. They changed some of the ways that we can go after school levies, and it does make it harder for schools to pass levies. So how are we going to deal with it? Well, it's another challenge for public education, and we need to deal with it head on. We need to make sure that our communities value public education by really making sure that we are giving them value in the community. We will probably have to tighten the belt even more. We have made a pledge at Mentor Schools to reduce $2 million off of the budget each year for the next 5 years, because we are trying to stretch the budget the most that we can. The last time we were on the ballot, we did pass one of the levies and we failed the other levy, the permanent improvement levy. And it was a narrow fail, but it was a fail. And we know that we have an aging community, and we know that everyone's dollars need a stretch. So we have to do our best to be fiscally responsible within the community, and we have to make sure that our community sees the value in public education and is able to see the direct benefit of having a well-educated school district. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want to piggyback on what she was saying about the previous levies failing. You're going to hear this as a call out there in the wild over this election season that we failed the levy. We did, but we are also asking for 2 levies at the same time, right? We passed one of them, and one of them narrowly failed. So that doesn't make the community sentiments anti-public education, as you will hear. We also, I think we just asked too much of the people at once, right? You're asking for 2 levies. We just had a big improvement of our fields, if you remember that, right before we asked for the levies. So we had brand new fields put in at the high school. I think if we ask for a levy, we need to be cognizant of the fact that it's our last ditch. Like, that's the last resort. And we're very thoughtful about what we ask for when we're asking for a levy. Keep it as minimalistic as possible.
Yeah. I want to talk about this. That's a really good question. Thank you. You know, Ohio has been constitutionally non-compliant with education for 20 years. So to get all sweaty about what the legislature, what they're doing in Columbus makes me crazy. What I know is the people that work in the board office, the treasurers, from Dan Wilson to our current treasurer, have worked really hard to make sure we're in the best situation we can be. All you can do is react to laws that are passed. You can lobby, and we have a board member who's very good at doing that. But I think you trust the people in the building, and you try to elect the people that were most likely to be non-reactionary. Because to overreact to that it would drive me insane. The property tax funding model, it's what we lived with for so long. I can't believe it'll go away. But if it did, what would we replace it with? I don't know. But you need the best ideas from the best thinkers. And they're probably not going to ask individual school board members for that. But I think we have people who could react really reasonably and put the best ideas on the table. And that's what I hope we'd be able to do. And I was in the room when we were in the worst situation. And I saw what the community did rallying around us. When we were in trouble, and we were really in trouble, the community answered. I believe in the community.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just go ahead and ask your question.
Hello. My question is to the school board members, and I'd like to know if you could be specific about one challenge that we're facing now and what you would do about it.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of talk about bullying and discipline. It's a hot button issue. And I think we've already started working on this, right? I've been part of this ad hoc committee for discipline and giving feedback to Craig Heath, parents, a combination of parents, students, teachers, we've all been, and he's rolled out a plan based upon our suggestions that have multi-tiered, like I was talking about, some social media training for parents, because a bully doesn't clock in at 7 and clock out at 3. Like, it's not like just a school problem, it's a community problem, right? So we need help from parents and the community and a tone switch, which I addressed about like the tone of the meetings, and the whole community needs to get involved. So we have some social media training, we have some habitual offenders that have been identified throughout the school. In fact, the superintendent said he went to every school and talked to them about their discipline issues, and every one of those principals knew who the habitual offenders were, knew about their families, knew about their situations, and some of the situations aren't great. Like, they're in troubled households most of the time. And to get those, to have some intervention with those kids and having them come in for counseling and having the parents come in is definitely going to help. Expansion of the in-school suspension. I'm going to steal a line from Robert, but it's not just, you can't suspend your way out of it. You got to have like a trusted adult like there for support. And then there's some worry about a matrix as far as like each offense gets a certain punishment and it all has to be equal. There has to be clear punishments, but a matrix isn't the exact answer. Like, you can't, there's mitigating and aggravating circumstances to everything. So I think bullying is definitely something that, and discipline is something that's ongoing. And we have a plan in place. We're going to monitor the plan. We're going to make sure that it goes through fruition. And the committee will keep meeting throughout this year.
I think technology is a challenge. I think technology is a challenge across the board. And it's so scary. What do we do with cell phones? What do we do about social media? What do we do with artificial intelligence? The first thing we have to do is stop talking about cheating. Let's stop talking about cheating. If the biggest problem is kids cheating, anybody here ever cheat? Anybody here ever look at someone else's paper? You did. You did. Anybody else maybe copy their homework out of the back of the book? Anybody else have the algebra book where the problems were in the back of the book and you copied it? You did. And if you didn't, I'm not sure I want to know you. So, we got to stop talking about cheating and we got to start talking about imagination. What can it do? What can it make us sing? It's got to be tiered. This assignment says, use ChatGPT. Bring it in. It's a draft. Let's talk about that draft. Let's have some conversation. Let's get some feedback. This assignment assumes some use of AI that has been heavily edited by you, and you can prove it and cite where you used it. And this is the one I'm curious about, because I'm not sure what it is. But better thinkers than me are thinking about it. Tom Ramsey's thinking about it. I think we have to embrace technology with imagination. Banning things, working through fear, gets us nowhere.
Excellent points. I always like to hear everyone's ideas. One of the things that I see facing our community is our communications to the community. Just making sure that we are clear with what's going on in the schools, having forums to be able to express those things and answer people's questions. That's why we recently, last year, added the Cardinal Cafes, and I'd like to see those expanded. The Cardinal Cafes are opportunities that we take one topic, maybe it's safety or discipline, and we meet with anyone who wants to meet in the community, and we have an open forum. So we have a presentation on it, people are talking about it, but also people are answering questions. And I think that that's a nice way to go about, kind of the communication that's happening to make sure that everyone knows what's going on in the schools. The other piece of that is supporting the community in other ways. We have about 33% of our students that are low socioeconomic status, so they're on free and reduced lunch. And when we have students that have these kinds of needs, they're not only are their homes stretched thin with school supplies and difficulty learning to get them to extracurriculars, and their involvement and their attendance goes down. Maybe the family isn't supported. We need to find ways to reach out to those families and support those families. And we're also opening a community resource center this year. So you're going to see a lot about that. Our community resource center will be right on campus. We've had the Cardinal Closet before in the basement of Garfield, and that was primarily clothing. So we had all kinds of clothing, and students could fill out a form and they could come in and they could shop. It's set up like a store, and some of our older students with special needs run this store, and we can get coats and jeans and all kinds of school supplies set up for them. But we're expanding that Cardinal Closet now. It's a building that we haven't been used. We had our construction program renovated, and it's going to be excellent. I'm personally going to be collecting like deodorants and shampoos and things like that, and we're going to be placing all of those things. So it can be like a drugstore shop, clothing store. We're going to have an area for sports equipment. So ways to support our community, ways to support our families, making sure that our attendance stays up and that our kids are supported and ready to be at school.
Question?
What are the candidates' positions relative to boys and girls sports? And is that a problem right now in the Mentor school system? Please.
It is against the law. We do not have any transgender athletes in sports. That is not something that we would support. It's against the law.
Okay,
It's settled law in Ohio now.
okay,
So law.
okay.
Not a question anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, Brian, from your perspective, you talked about 3 different initiatives, as they were, if you were elected, and I'm wondering how those are viewed by the current administration and why they haven't already been implemented if they're within the budget that exists.
That's a good question. I think they're hard. It's hard to accomplish, Our current city council people have been on there just so long. they just roll along with the current agenda that they have, and there's you never really see like, hey, let's do a study to. Every time I give a speech and I bring up Back Truck, I get a round of applause. It's like the running joke. And I work for Lake County, and I drive around all the time, and I see all these other communities to do it. And I wonder, how come we can't do it? Why are we not asking the questions to do that? We have Willoughby doing it. And I think that we need to push our administration into different avenues. Another thing I hear all the time is that we don't have a walkable downtown district, right? I hear that all the time. We want downtown Willoughby, right? But we have a thoroughfare right now, Plaza Boulevard. You could drive down Plaza Boulevard right now. It's 120-foot right of way. And we see them all, what's going on. Why can't we build a downtown walkable district and use Plaza Boulevard and have that be our downtown district? We see what's happening on both sides of the mall. The parking's already there, the infrastructure's already there. Why can't we do something like that? Can we build 100-year-old buildings? No, but why can't we do something? And that's a big idea that I have, and it's part of, some of our zoning in the city is all done by referendum, which is tough, because we need to partner with builders, and we need to partner so that we can ultimately get the things that we want. And those are two really big things that I would like, is to have a walkable downtown area, Plaza Boulevard, and explore leaf removal. Because I live on Hoos Road, and I can't fit them all in those bags. I know, I feel the pain as I'm dragging the tarps, and I count them too. And I can't get my family out to help me, and I'm dragging these tarps in the backyard.
I feel the same way.
You feel my fear?
Yeah.
Are we built out, is Menor built out as far as housing?
It's really not. When you pull back on the zoning map, there are some areas that can be built. And really where I feel is what Menor needs is, we need to build communities to where our aging community can move into, not elderly homes, but where HOA communities, to where people that live in these half-acre lots, third-acre lots, that basically built Menor, right? Like everybody, that's basically all that we live in. That maybe need a kitchen renovation, need some bathroom work, that they can move out of those houses, and young families can move in to our third-acre parcels and our half-acre parcels, to what made Menor what it was in the 70s and the 80s when people were moving in. Because right now we have an aging community, and our number one export that we have in the city of Menor right now, can anybody guess? Young people. Our young people are moving away from Menor. So we need to find a way to keep the people that live here and love it here, that move into communities, and have our young people move into these houses that have a little bit more yard, so where they can raise their families, just like we did, just like we all did in this room. So, these aren't easy answers. These are tough questions, but we need to push our administration to do studies and whatnot. And we have done we did a big housing study to look at all our housing stock, and this is what it's telling us to do. But we need to communicate with our residents. This is what we need. How many elementary schools were there?
There were 12.
And how many are there now?
There were 7.
7. Right. We used to. Everybody hears these stories that we graduated 1,200, 1,300. What's the graduating class? 550, 600 now? And in 15 years, I heard a stat that in 15 years, this is going to blow you away, Riverside is going to graduate more than Menor. If I would have told you that 20 years ago, you would have, no way anybody would have thought that. But we need housing, we need diversify our housing stock, essentially, is what we need to do.
Whatever happened to the Bolton property, which I know it was reversed because.
Well, it was voted down by referendum. It was a close vote.
Right.
And they have sued, right? And now they're working out a settlement.
Oh, I thought they had worked out a settlement and Menor agreed that it was improperly zoned and that they could go ahead.
You are true, but there's more to that. There's a lot more to that, but they're working out, the owner of the property is working out an agreement with city council in order to get housing in there.
There was another rumor that old Manor, the center, old center, where Hartford store used to be.
Speak
gonna
up,
be
Bob, so
developed.
everyone can.
The property was called Uptown Manor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been it's been approved through planning.
Okay.
I'm on the planning commission, and it's just waiting to be built. Waiting to be built, waiting to work out some tax agreements and whatnot through things.
So you're talking about the street between Burridge and Jackson, that all those areas? Are you talking about the street between Burridge Avenue and Jackson, where you have all those awnings and those older?
You know where Jazzercise was and all?
Yes.
Yeah, that on the north side of
So
20.
that's been, worked out, that they're either gonna tear them down or they're gonna renovate them?
The two on the ends are gonna stay, and the middle ones are gonna get torn down. But the owner of the property right now is working through a tax agreement between the city and the school board, essentially.
So taxes,
What will they put in there then, Brian,
First,
when they tear
the-
those
the
things
approved-
down?
The approved plan is first floor, offices.
Okay.
And a couple floors of apartments.
Not gonna leave it vacant.
That's not the plan.
Okay.
No. And there's some underground, the plan that I saw, they did submit a plan at the county, and there's some underground parking.
Okay.
You go in behind the back, and then there's a parking, and there's some land bank parking behind the bank that's there.
So there's some plans.
There are some concrete plans, yes.
It looks, it's got, the reputation is called Menor Ghetto now. And Hummel's is, I mean, they just went out of business, but already it's like peeling paint and looking terrible. I
Yeah.
mean, the whole area looks like a ghetto, like you say. I
Yeah.
live down Burridge and I am embarrassed
Yeah.
for visiting.
Now, the Pummels just got approved, now you put me right on the spot. That just came through planning, and that got approved as a dental office. So that should be getting redone here soon.
But if you talk about a walkable neighborhood, that area butts right up to all of those streets, and that would be a walkable. Plaza Boulevard isn't really a walkable neighborhood in my book, but that area could be. You have to really work on that and push it.
It could be, there are some zoning issues there because we have, some stringent parking requirements, and any time anything's built, you know, if you look around, Menor's really good at building strip plazas and blacktop parking.
Yep.
So we need some innovative ideas in order to get parking to an area, in order to create a walkable district. So, to get back to my Plaza Boulevard, I mean, we see the writing on the wall with the mall. I mean, you've seen the malls across Northeast, across the country, quite frankly. So to utilize that space is, because my first idea was how can we create a walkable district down Route 20? But part of it is I think that ship might have been sailed, you know, for the current zoning that we had. So where else can we do it? And that's where I kind of thought Plaza Boulevard would be a good idea because the infrastructure's there. Water, sewer, gas, electric.
Great, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I'd like to focus on some additional questions for the school board members. Yeah, please, go ahead, just stand up and go.
I'm a retired school nurse, and when I retired in '04, there were 9 registered nurses for the 16th school. I wonder what the situation is now.
I don't know how many registered nurses we have. Several years ago, before I came on as a board member, they went to registered nurses and health aides. So there are so many registered nurses that oversee health aides, so there's always someone in the building, but the health aides do take some of that workload out now. And I believe that they're part of the classified union.
So you don't know how many registered nurses it represents?
I'm sorry, I don't, but I could find that out for you. I don't know.
When I was there, I had 3 elementary schools myself.
Yes. So I think that the idea now is that there's always someone staff, if it's either a nurse or a home health aide, or not a home health aide, a health aide is the title. Because we do have, you know, more complex medical situations, we have diabetic students, we have students with feeding tubes, maybe respirator, things like that. So there are needs that we have that require someone to be there, to always have it staffed with either a health aide or a nurse.
I understand your pain. When I was principal of Bellflower, I had a nurse 1 and 1/2 days a week.
Please.
Okay, one of the candidates addressed bullying and one of the candidates addressed technology. I would like to hear what the other candidates have to say about those two issues. As a retired Mentor teacher.
Sure.
Okay,
Well,
you have to do,
You want
you want me to do bullying?
Yeah, you want to do bullying and then I'll
I
technology?
don't want to do bullying.
And then you can do
Kathy, you're bullying me a little bit.
Sorry, Bob.
First of all, I don't believe bullying is new. I don't think it's different. I just don't. I think you emphasize kindness. I just do. My favorite teacher was Gail Kiesecker at Bellflower Elementary School. She had one rule in her classroom, and her rule was be kind. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just a sign in the front of the room. It was every single day. It was every single day. Any interaction was that kind. And if it wasn't, what is the reciprocal? How can we make that be kind? And I think looking at it from that side is the way to go. And that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences. And that doesn't mean that there aren't strict rules. And that doesn't mean that there aren't lines that kids can step across. But the problem isn't just the 7 hours and 15 minutes at the school. The problem is the other 17 hours. And we're all in it together. I think the solution is kindness, and I think it's understanding, and I think it can be taught, and I think it needs to be taught really early. And I also think that every single student at every single school has to have at least one adult in that school that knows them well. And I think that child needs to know who that staff member is. That child should be able to tell his parents, Mrs. Jones is who I can go to. Mrs. Jones cares about me. And I know that's not a highly specific answer. I know it isn't. I also know that it works.
I agree with that one.
I know I addressed bullying a little bit, just having clear expectations and making sure that we do have a flexibility to understand certain situations with kids. It is about connection. It's about making sure that we have mental health professionals in our district, that we're hiring them, and we have connections with their families. Part of the ad hoc discipline committee that we had showed us that we have some repeat offenders, and those repeat offenders we're doing targeted interventions with. We called all of their parents in. We're having meetings with the parents of those repeat offenders. Some of the parents are hard to reach. Some of them don't want to come in. And we have to create ways to create relationships with those families to make sure their attendance and their behavior improves. So those are some real targeted things that we need to do. I do think the discipline, we need to make sure the kids have clear expectations in all areas of the school, and we need to have some codes in place, some expectations. You do this, this happens, but we have to have leeway with that too, because we know that students have different situations going on, and we might have to make sure that, we're sensitive to those types of things as well. It's not very black and white. I also want to address AI, because that's your other piece. As an educator, I do use AI. We have kind of an initiative at the district that I work in where we're kind of studying how to use AI in appropriate ways. As an educator, it is a nice tool for us to, kind of say, okay, I need to start my research. How do can I use AI to kind of help me give a framework? What are some articles that I might want to look up? And it will populate that for you, and it's a time saver. We all remember when we had to go to the library. We had to, use like the microfiche and make copies, and you're highlighting and citing and things. our students don't have to do that anymore. You know, they type in. We don't want them obviously writing everything through AI. And we have technology. It's a form of AI actually. Where once they turn in their papers, it scans the papers, and we know if they plagiarized it or not, or used AI to do it. So that's a great resource that from the teacher side we're using. So we need to teach students how to use AI in those ways, because when they're on the job, they're going to use AI. AI is going to happen. It's not going away. So we need to use it in smart ways. And I think that, to your point, you know, it's not going away. Teaching how to use it responsibly.
Well, I've already talked about bullying.
Thanks.
Man.
What did you do?
So
They told me ahead of time they had to leave.
They're busy people.
So this is the beauty of not running as a slate, like not being in lockstep with each other, because we all have different backgrounds, right? I look at technology from business aspect, because I manage people that I hire people, right? And in the past, I've managed people that are 20-somethings coming right out of college, and now we don't even require a college degree anymore. For some entry-level positions of my company. So they have to be prepared. They have to know technology. Like we're doing them a great disservice at Mentor if we're not preparing them to use AI, to use their cell phone in a responsible manner. We're just pawning that off to their employer, right? You're making them a less marketable candidate, right? So I look at it as technology. I've read The Anxious Generation. Like, I understand that people are worried about the effects of technology on their kids, right? And I agree, elementary school, like, there shouldn't be cell phones there, right? Middle school, maybe we look at something, no cell phones, maybe yonder bags, possibly do. High school, I think you should have access to your cell phone, but learn how to, like, no cell phone bell to bell. Like, so you can manage it. You have to be able to use this tool before you go out into the workforce, right? And you have to be able to use AI, you have to be able to use technology, and I think that, like I said, we're doing a huge disservice to our kids if we don't acknowledge that.
Other question? Yes. Stand up, Barbara, and so everyone can hear.
I'm wondering what you're going to do to protect the rights of children with disabilities. I spent most of my life advocating, and I think we are presently in danger of maybe losing some of the what we fought so hard to get, and that is the Individual Education Act and 504. And I just retired at the age of 86 last year because they couldn't find tutors. So I was So now I'm going back and volunteering with a student who has no tutor, a student who loves to learn, who likes science and math, but can't learn those subjects. And by the way, without AI. AI has done wonderful things in terms of, you know, a gaze machine. This student communicates with his eyes, and he can actually use a gaze machine to communicate. That would not be possible without technology. So, but I'm really concerned about these students. This student does not have a tutor for this coming year, and I'm really concerned about how all of what's going on. Not to bring in too much politics, but this is going on in our country now. These children may lose what we've fought so hard for.
I'll start with this one. I share your concern. I'm a special educator. I'm in my 25th year as a school speech language pathologist, and I was very concerned. We just, was it last week? Two weeks ago? Last week, we were able to confirm that we received our federal funding. And our federal funds are what pay for our special education students. So federal funding is something that we have to protect. We need to make sure that we're following laws, because if we're not following laws, we're at risk of losing our federal funding. And for us, that's anywhere between $7 to $9 million. It covers all of our free and reduced lunch, it covers all of our special education services, and it covers all of our tutoring services. And the federal government was saying to us, we're not sure that that we're going to give this out. Because right now, the Department of Education at the federal level is changing. It is changing. You know, IDEIA, our federal law that, you know, protects the rights of students with disabilities, is really important. We need to have a variety of classes. We need to have students with disabilities to get support right in their classes. We need to have tutors, we need to have pull-out services, and we need to have those specialized schools and classrooms that are for students that need to have that specialized care and assistance, like our CARES House. At Mentor, we have done an excellent job with special education. We have a top-notch special education program. It really is a leader in special education. I want to protect that. I will fight hard to protect that. Funding may become an issue. We need to make sure that we have our documentation there to show what our students do and what our students need with and without support, so that we can advocate for that. And it's part of being an advocate for school funding. Your school candidates, you want to make sure that they are advocates for fair school funding. We signed a resolution as the current school board. I've written letters to our legislators for fair school funding. Fair school funding is very important at both the state and the federal level, and we need to be able to stand up for that.
Okay.
I mean, that's the reason I'm here, right? That's the reason I'm in Mentor right now, because we went to Catholic school, right? And Catholic school or private schools are not held accountable to, or they don't have the resources, and some of them don't have the inclination to help out your kid if they need an IEP. You know, one of my daughters needed an IEP, and we started searching. You know, my oldest daughter was looking for to be challenged, but we needed an IEP, and Mentor has so much experience handling IEPs and does such a great job. We've been so satisfied since 2019. We've had great aides, we've had great teachers, and it's something near and dear to my heart. And I agree that we have to keep be cognizant of the funding's in flux, and know that some of that funding is being diverted to vouchers and whatnot, and make sure that we are fairly funding our public schools to ensure that.
You made my heart hurt. I ran the title grants for a couple years at Mentor, the millions of dollars, and I remember how stringent the requirements were and how the money could be spent and how precious it was. As Director of Elementary Education and as a principal at Bellflower, what I noted around the district was the creativity. The partnerships that took place between special educators and regular educators and classroom assistants. The way in which people were employed in classrooms cross-categorically in multiplicable ways, using interventions that were targeted and measurable. And I think that experience matters across the district. At Bellflower, we had an nationally award-winning intervention team. And we met on multiple students every week, and you look exactly at that student and that particular learning need. And you come up with an idea for an intervention, and you measure it, and you time limit it, and you come back and you check.
Can you talk about this?
That work is, I can talk louder.
Okay.
That work is so important. Okay, I'm gonna be back in middle school. That work is so important. And I don't think that experience goes away. I'm afraid you might be right. But I'm an optimist in terms of our teaching staff and their caring and their concern. I watched it happen in a different way in every elementary school. and they were all the right way. Well, not always, but they shifted, they changed, they adapted. That's what you have to do. That's what every teacher has to do. I'm a teacher. I love teachers. But you've got to be able to adapt to your children's needs. And that's what you're talking about at the end of the day, right? How can we make sure this child in front of us is successful? How do we do it? A lot harder without the money, I understand.
Well, I think we were doing better when I first started.
You may be right.
Yeah.
You may be right.
And I think part of it, I don't wanna blame the school, because I think part of it is we don't have people who really want to work with children with disabilities.
She's right.
We are lacking that. I mean, I think the head of the special education department wants to get a tutor for this young man.
Yeah.
Can't find one.
Yeah. I would push back on that a little bit. I believe in young people and I believe in young teachers. But that being said, if there's a special education in your classroom, it's a marriage. You've got to be cognizant of it, and you've got to do some matchmaking. If I had a child that had this learning ability, I knew where to go with him or her. I knew who to go to. You have to know that. And it's not always the same person. It's not always Ellen or whoever. Her name might have been Ellen. Never mind. Right? That matchmaking is so important. And when it doesn't work, that's important too.
I think we're actually struggling, maybe it's by personal struggle, with a society that doesn't have the necessary understanding of what it's like to be a person with a disability.
Yeah.
And I relate to these people, children and adults, one-to-one. And they deserve.
They sure do.
They deserve to learn, they deserve to not be graded on whether they can be productive. I actually had somebody say to me, why are the parents working so hard to keep her alive? She can't do anything.
And it's so obvious to hear you talk about it. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. And I'll tell you where you learn it. You learn it in school. You learn it in school. We had the first autistic mainstream child at Bellflower in grade K when I was there. That's where you learn it. That's where the other students learn it. Other students learn more. That's where you learn it. You learn it in school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on one second. We got you.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Thank you so much for asking that question. It inspired me to kind of ask a follow-up question or just make an additional point of why I'm supporting these 4 great candidates. My name is Rachel. I just started year 3 as a para in special education. I love my job. And I think that's why it's so important to show and publicly show my support for these 4 candidates here, because I know firsthand that people that work in education, especially folks that work in special education, they do not do it for the paycheck. They do not do it for the job itself. They do it because they absolutely love it and they care about those kids more than anything. And they would take a bullet for those kids if they needed to. And I know, as someone who has over 20 years in special education, that I can trust President Maggie Cook, not only because she's a professional, she's an expert in all things special education, especially in my field, autism. And I know that she is going to make sure that we have people that do care about those kids. Because, I mean, don't tell Bill Wade this, but I would do this job for free, you know, so.
Well, I know.
Hang on.
I'm not gonna mention them.
We need to move on. I'm sorry, but.
I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great.
Yes. Let me stand up so I can project my voice a little bit better.
I'm a retired professional engineer, and my question to the school board is, what are we doing as it relates to improving our national competition in the arena of STEM?
Thank you.
I will.
All right.
All right. So, does this help?
No.
No. I'm just gonna talk loud then.
There you go.
We have STEAM classes starting in the elementary level now. So that is an extracurricular. So all students in elementary go to library, they go to music, they go to art class, and they go to gym, and they go to STEAM. So that's a way for them to start exploring those science, technology, educational, art, math types of courses. Then when we get to the middle school level, we have electives built in that are more like the STEAM level electives. And at the high school level, we have even more. We started a career academy that is like an engineering academy. Now we have several different kind of like engineering. We have a cybersecurity one. We have a pre-engineering group, and this is something that's dear to me because my daughter's a sophomore at the University of Cincinnati. She's studying engineering right now. She's a computer engineer, and she was really well prepared when she started last year. Of course, you're always nervous when your daughter goes away to college, and she's in this competitive program, and she was setting the curve in her math classes. So she was right there with her sciences and her math classes. She had an excellent opportunity to take those AP level and those CCP college classes before she even stepped in there. So she took those higher level science and math classes that were college level. When she went into college, she already had some of those credits done. And then when she took the next level, she was ready, and she's done an excellent job. So I think we're doing a great job preparing our students for those high level science fields.
Approximately what percentage of graduates from Mentor match your daughter's preparation?
That is an excellent question. I know, to be fair, she was one of the top students in her class. Most of our students go to college. Do they enter science fields? I'm not sure that I have that data. Can I follow up with you on that?
Sure.
I can find out if we have any of that.
We're aware, for
information.
example, that a lot of technology-based companies are planning major investments in the United States. And to fill the entry jobs for these corporations, they need quality high school graduates, not necessarily in other than STEM curriculum. So I'm hoping that if there are any plans to spread out or upgrade the STEM curricula at Mentor, I would strongly support it.
It's an excellent point. It's one of the reasons we work with the city of Mentor. So the city of Mentor, we meet with them to talk about what businesses are you bringing into the city. And when we know that they have when we know they have businesses coming in that are more STEM related, our classes start kind of focusing on more STEM related classes because we know that those are businesses that are coming in. So recently they brought in a company that does communications for elderly people in their homes, but it's a tech company. Do you remember the name of that?
I think it's called Mobility One.
Mobility One is not the one that I was thinking of. Maybe that's a different one. But what we're doing is we just added those two programs into our Career Tech program as a direct relation of talking to them about the programs they're bringing in to the city, the companies that are coming in, and we're trying to match their programs.
Okay,
So,
that's suitable for the city of Mentor. I'm referring to international competition.
Yep.
We need to have the high school graduates move on to take qualifications to compete internationally.
Agreed.
So that's the area that I would strongly suggest the school board look into and make appropriate adjustments if we're not looking at the international aspect of STEM.
Absolutely, thank you.
You have Tom Ramsey here, who
Yes.
led Mentor Science Olympiad, and the very, very successful Science Olympiad programs in the junior high and high school, which were state, national, and international champions for years. Mentor has always been.
Tom Ramsey, ladies.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey, how do you feel we're doing there? Do you think you can answer that question?
I think you're doing a great job.
International STEM Ramsey High School.
Thank you.
I'll try something real quick. Can I just try to-
No, go ahead.
So I have two daughters, and I'll tell you, the calculus, they're liberal arts kids, they are. My wife is a science teacher, but they're liberal arts kids, they are. I've got a lawyer and a teacher. I mean, they're fine. But calculus was a non-negotiable in our house. You have to go to the highest level of math, it was non-negotiable. And I think it should be for everybody, I really do. But I want to talk about elementary math because that's where I know the most. My three-legged stool comes from elementary mathematics because I think it's important to look at mathematics holistically because I think math is beautiful. And I think kids need to be taught that math is beautiful and I need them to pursue more math. So the three-legged stool says problem solving. Yes, kids need to be able to solve problems. Computation. Yes, kids need to know some mathematical facts. And estimation. Really not taught too widely, but probably the most math you use is estimation. And the three-legged stool is how do problem solving and computation and estimation work together to solve rich mathematical puzzles? And what kind of assessments can we give kids well beyond worksheets that light fires for them? And that happens really young. That's what I think about elementary math.
See if I can stand up.